Welcome to the Blotcher Show. My name is Chris. I'm your host, and you are listening to this week's episode of Storytime Friday. This week's story is titled The Clockmaker's Secret. Part 1, The Inheritance. The air in Elias Grinwell's workshop hung thick with the scent of polished wood and oiled gears. A comforting aroma that had been Mara's constant companion for the past 5 years. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight slicing through the grimy window panes, illuminating the intricate mechanisms of countless clocks, each a miniature universe of spinning gears and ticking pendulums. The rhythmic tick-tock, a symphony of time itself, filled the space, a comforting counterpoint to the nervous flutter in Mara's chest. Today felt different, heavier. Even the familiar scent of beeswax and pine seemed to carry a subtle undercurrent of anticipation. She traced the smooth curves of the master clock, Elia's magnum opus, a masterpiece of gleaming brass and polished ebony that dominated the workshop. It stood taller than Mara herself, its face a bewildering array of dials, hands, and cryptic symbols that had always fascinated and slightly intimidated her. Elias had always warned her away from its hidden complexities. His voice, a low rumble, laced with pride and a hint of fear. The master clock holds more than just time, child, he'd say, his eyes twinkling with an unsettling intensity. It holds the very fabric of our world. But Elias was gone now, leaving Mara, his sole apprentice, the inheritor of his extraordinary legacy. And the master clock's enigmatic secrets. She'd spent the past few days sorting through his belongings, a bittersweet task that stirred a mixture of grief and wonder. Elias had been more than a master. He was a father figure, a mentor, a friend. His absence left a gaping hole in her life, a silence that even the tireless ticking of his clocks couldn't quite fill. Her fingers, trembling slightly, brushed against a barely perceptible seam near the clock's base. It was a detail she'd never noticed before, concealed beneath layers of carefully applied varnish. Curiosity, that ever-present goblin in her mind, urged her to investigate. Ignoring the prickle of apprehension at the back of her neck, a ghost of Elias's warnings, perhaps, she gently pried the seam open with a tiny ivory-handled screwdriver. A hidden compartment, small but perfectly formed, lay revealed. Inside, nestled amongst faded velvet lining, was a rolled parchment scroll, its edges brittle with age, and a small, intricately carved wooden box. The scroll, crafted from aged parchment, felt surprisingly warm to the touch. Its surface shimmered with an ethereal glow. The script upon it had a swirling mix of symbols and elegant cursive that seemed to writhe before her eyes. It felt ancient, powerful, otherworldly. The symbols themselves, etched into the master clock's brass face, pulsed with a faint light, mirroring the ethereal glow emanating from the scroll. They pulsed slowly, almost imperceptibly, a faint heartbeat in the heart of a clock. The wooden box, no longer than her thumb, was adorned with equally enigmatic symbols, carved with astonishing precision. It felt cool and smooth to the touch, its weight surprisingly heavy for its size. Mara hesitated, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She knew she shouldn't open it, that Elias's warnings echoed in the very silence of the workshop. Yet the pull of the unknown was too strong to resist. With trembling fingers, she unfurled the ancient scroll. The words, written in a language she didn't recognize, yet somehow understood, spoke of a power far beyond her comprehension. She described the master clock not merely as a timepiece, but as an anchor, a guardian of the delicate balance of time itself. They spoke of a realm beyond the confines of linear time, a place of swirling energies and temporal paradoxes. They spoke of wardens, guardians of this ethereal realm, entrusted with the responsibility of maintaining the very fabric of existence. The scroll's final passage was a stark warning, its words burning themselves into Mara's mind. He who tampers with the master clock's secrets risks unraveling the world. Elias's ghostly presence seemed to intensify, a silent warning that sent a shiver down her spine. She could almost feel his eyes upon her, a blend of pride and anxious apprehension in their silent gaze. Yet, the allure of the unknown was too powerful. The allure of unraveling the clock's true mysteries, the chance to unlock its hidden power, proved too tempting. With a reckless disregard for the warnings, Mara turned her attention to the master clock itself, ignoring the increasingly insistent warnings etched within her scroll, the unspoken warnings from Elias's lingering spirit. With deft fingers, guided by the scroll's cryptic diagrams, she located a tiny lever hidden beneath a cluster of intricate gears. It was almost imperceptible, camouflaged by its surrounding intricacy. With a deep breath, she engaged the lever. A low hum, barely audible at first, filled the workshop. It grew steadily louder, building to a resonant thrum that vibrated through the floorboards and into Mara's very bones. The symbols on the master clock blazed with an intense light, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls and seemed to writhe with a life of their own. The world around her twisted and warped. The familiar, comforting tick-tock of the clocks transformed into a cacophony of discordant chimes, a symphony of chaos. The sunlight outside flickered and died, plunging the workshop into an unnerving twilight. Outside, the village of Windmere was transforming, or rather, deforming, before her very eyes. The summer sky turned to a swirling winter, snow falling in thick, unnatural flakes. Children playing in the square suddenly forgot their names, their faces etched with bewilderment and fear. Shadows detached themselves from their sources, writhing like independent creatures, their shapes shifting and distorting. The cobblestone streets seemed to twist and turn, defying all sense of logic and spatial awareness. The once familiar village of Windmere was dissolving into a surreal dreamscape, the orderly passage of time fractured and broken. Panic flared in Mara's chest. She had unleashed something terrifying, something far beyond her understanding. The weight of her actions crashed down upon her, heavy and suffocating. The comforting tick-tock of the clocks was now a mocking reminder of the chaos she had unleashed upon the village. The familiar scent of the workshop now carried the stench of fear and the bitter tang of regret. The master clock, once a source of wonder and fascination, now seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy. She had ignored the warnings, and now she was faced with the consequences of her actions. The world, as she knew it, was unraveling at the seams. The weight of responsibility, the unforeseen implications of her actions were overwhelming. The whimsical clock shop had transformed into a stage for a devastating play, one that she had unwittingly directed. The rhythmic tick-tock, once a comforting lullaby, now grated on Mara's ears, a discordant symphony of impending doom. The workshop, once a haven of order and precision, was now a vortex of swirling chaos. Dust motes, previously dancing serenely in the sunlight, now swirled in frantic patterns, mirroring the turmoil in her heart. The air, thick with the scent of beeswax and pine, was now heavy with the metallic tang of fear. Outside, the transformation of Windmere continued its relentless march. The sun, a moment ago a cheerful orb in the summer sky, had vanished, replaced by a swirling vortex of twilight hues. Snow, impossibly thick and unnatural, fell in massive flakes, blanketing the cobblestone streets in a surreal winter landscape. The transformation wasn't merely a change of seasons. It was a tearing apart of the fabric of reality. The very air seemed to crackle with temporal energy, a palpable sense of disorientation that seeped into Mara's bones. She stumbled out of the workshop, the cold biting at her exposed skin. The village square, usually bustling with activity, was eerily silent, save for the whisper of the wind and the unsettling crunch of snow underfoot. Children, once laughing and playing, now stood frozen in place, their faces pale and etched with bewilderment. One little girl, her bright red dress stark against the snowy backdrop, stared blankly ahead, her eyes wide with a primal fear that chilled Mara to the core. When Mara approached, the child simply shook her head, tears streaming down her face, unable to even utter a whimper or cry for help. She had utterly forgotten her own name. The shadows, detached from their sources, writhed like sentient creatures across the snow-covered ground. They stretched and twisted, forming grotesque shapes that shifted and reformed with each passing moment. A moment, from a nearby oak tree detached itself, stretching long and spirally across the snow. It then became a distorted caricature of a snarling beast before disappearing completely, absorbed into the swirling chaos of the altered landscape. The very essence of the familiar had warped, the solidity of reality fractured. The once cozy cottages now appeared as warped illusions, their doors and windows askew, hinting at the distorted reality they masked. A woman emerged from the cottage, her face a mask of confusion. She called out to her child, but her voice was lost in the blizzard. She turned towards Mara, her eyes darting around frantically, fear etched onto her features. Where's Thomas? She cried out, her voice laced with desperation. I can't remember. Where? Her words trailed off into incoherent mumbling. Her own memories, like the village's timeline itself, fractured and broken. The once clear, sharp outlines of homes and buildings blurred and shifted, like a painting left out in the rain. Mara's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat against the backdrop of the unfolding chaos. The weight of her actions pressed down upon her, a crushing burden that threatened to suffocate her. She had tampered with something far beyond her comprehension, a power that dwarfed her abilities, her knowledge, her very being. Elias's warnings echoed in her mind, each word a bitter condemnation of her reckless curiosity. She had been warned. She had known the risks. Yet the irresistible lure of the unknown had blinded her to the magnitude of the consequence. The air grew colder. the snow falling faster, heavier. The village was not merely transforming, it was disintegrating, the fabric of its reality unraveling at an alarming rate. The once familiar cobblestone streets twisted and warped, creating impossible angles and disappearing pathways. Houses seemed to shift and slide, their foundations dissolving into the encroaching snow. The very ground beneath her feet felt unstable, like walking on shifting sands. Time itself seemed to stutter and falter. Moments stretched and compressed, blurring into an incomprehensible jumble. She saw a fleeting glimpse of summer, a sun-drenched field of wildflowers, then an instantaneous image of autumn, leaves swirling in a violent wind. The seasons, once predictable and cyclic, now shifted erratically in a cruel mockery of nature's order. This temporal instability was more than just seasonal chaos. It was a complete disintegration of chronology. It was as if the world itself was forgetting its own past, present, and future. Desperate, Mara ran through the increasingly bizarre landscape, desperately searching for a way to undo the damage she caused. The villagers, lost and confused, moved like ghosts through the warped reality, unable to grasp the changing circumstances. Every familiar sight seemed to distort, the village turning into an elaborate maze, each street leading to another impossible, illogical path. The comforting rhythm of village life had been replaced by a terrifying, chaotic discord. The very ground underfoot seemed to undulate, changing its contours with each passing moment. She could almost feel the fabric of time itself tearing, a cosmic unraveling that threatened to swallow Windmere whole. The master clock, she now realized, was not merely a clock. It was the very heart of Windmere's temporal reality, an anchor against the boundless currents of time. And she, in her reckless curiosity, had pulled the pin. The weight of her actions, the desperation she had wrought, or devastation she had wrought, felt like a physical burden pressing down on her with every staggering step. The once familiar village was now an alien landscape, a nightmare brought to life by her own hands. A sense of profound loneliness swept over her. She was alone in this shattered reality, facing the consequences of her actions, with no clear path to restoration or hope. The village, once a sanctuary of familiarity, had become a labyrinth of warped realities and forgotten memories. The only sound was the howling wind, a mournful dirge accompanying the disintegration of Windmere. The future of the village, the lives of the villagers, and the very fabric of reality itself, all hung precariously on her ability to reverse the chaos that she'd unleashed. The weight of responsibility was nearly unbearable. The silent judge of Elias's ghostly presence, a chilling companion in the surreal snowfall. The chilling wind whipped around Mara, stinging her cheeks and blurring her vision. The snow, relentless and unforgiving, piled high against her ankles, each step a struggle against the encroaching white wilderness. She stumbled onward, driven by a desperate need to find a solution. A flicker of hope in the suffocating despair. The whispers of the wind carried the mournful cries of the disoriented villagers, their pleas for help swallowed by the blizzard's roar. She found a semblance of shelter in the lee of a crooked, snow-laden cottage. Its windows, once bright and inviting, now stared out blankly, like the eyes of a lost soul. Hesitantly, she approached the door, her knuckles rapping against the wood, a tentative plea for assistance in the face of overwhelming chaos. A frail figure, hunched and ancient, opened the door. Mrs. Willowbrook, the village elder, her face, a roadmap of wrinkles etched by time and hardship, peered out at Mara. Her eyes cloudy but sharp, reflecting a wisdom that transcended the current temporal turmoil. Her lips moved, forming words that were lost in the howling wind, but Mara could see a flicker of recognition in her gaze, a spark of understanding amidst the pervasive confusion. "Come in, child," Mrs. Willowbrook croaked, her voice thin and ready, or thin and reedy, barely audible above the wind's mournful song. Mara stepped inside, the warmth of the hearth a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. The cottage was small, cluttered with antique furniture. And the scent of dried herbs, creating a strangely comforting atmosphere despite the chaos outside. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Shadows that, unlike those outside, behaved normally, their movements predictable and unthreatening. Mrs. Willowbrook gestured to a worn armchair by the fire, its fabric faded and patched, a testament to its age and endurance. Mara sat down, shivering not only from the cold, but also from the immense weight of her responsibilities. The elder woman sat opposite her, her gaze piercing yet compassionate. "They speak of you, child," Mrs. Willowbrook began, her voice low and hushed, like the rustling of autumn leaves. "Of the master clock and the unraveling of time." Her words held a strange mixture of fear and acceptance, of sorrow and a quiet strength that resonated deeply within Mara. "The whispers have been growing louder," Mrs. Willowbrook continued, her voice strengthening a little. "Whispers from the past, from times long forgotten." Mara recounted her actions, her voice trembling as she confessed to unlocking the master clock's secrets, her curiosity outweighing her caution. She described the subsequent chaos, the fragmented memories of the villagers, the shifting seasons, the unsettling dance of the shadows, a terrifying cascade of events that had stemmed from her impulsive act. Mrs. Willowbrook listened patiently, her gaze unwavering. When Mara had finally finished, the elder woman nodded slowly. "The tales were true, then," she whispered, her eyes distant, as if gazing into a realm beyond the physical world. "The old one spoke of a balance, a delicate equilibrium maintained by the wardens of time. They were keepers of the world's story, the guardians of its narrative flow. The master clock. It was not merely a clock, child. It was the heart of that balance." She spoke of stories passed down through generations, fragmented pieces of ancient lore that hinted at a world beyond the confines of Windmere. A realm where time flowed in unpredictable currents, where the past, present, and future intertwined in a chaotic dance. These were not mere tales, but warnings, prophecies that had remained hidden until now, awakened by Mara's actions. The villagers, she explained, were not merely forgetting their names, but also the memories that bound them to the world's shared history, the collective narratives that formed the tapestry of Windmere's existence. Mrs. Willowbrook described the wardens, mystical figures who had protected the delicate balance of time throughout history, their powers drawn from the master clock itself. They had the ability to manipulate the temporal currents, to mend the fabric of reality when it frayed at the edges. They could reweave the world's story, correct the errors, restore order from the chaos. But the wardens were legendary figures, their existence veiled in myth, their methods shrouded in mystery. Their stories were a patchwork of whispers and fragmented accounts passed down through generations, each telling a partial truth, creating a larger, more elusive puzzle. The Wardens, Mrs. Willowbrook continued, her voice growing stronger with each word, did not merely observe time. They were woven into its very fabric. They understood the language of moments, the echoes of the past, the whispers of the future. Their power stemmed from their ability to perceive and guide the narrative of the world. They were storytellers, in the truest sense of the word, shaping the very essence of reality through their understanding of the temporal currents. She spoke of rituals, of forgotten chants and symbols, fragments of ancient practices that might hold the key to restoring the balance. These were not simply steps in a process, but interactions with the essence of time itself. A delicate dance between the mortal world and the ethereal realm where time held sway. The symbols, she explained, were not merely decorative, but complex instructions, a language of time itself, capable of subtly guiding and reshaping the temporal currents. The chants were not merely words, but vibrations, resonating with the energy of time, capable of realigning the disrupted narrative. Mrs. Willowbrook's words painted a picture of a world far grander, far more mysterious than Mara had ever imagined. It was a world where time wasn't just a linear progression, but a boundless ocean with unpredictable currents, where the past, present, and future were not separate entities, but interwoven threads that formed the intricate tapestry of existence. The master clock wasn't just a clock, but a conduit, a link between the mortal realm and this ethereal dimension. The whispers of the past were not merely forgotten tales, but crucial clues to navigating this complex temporal landscape. The old woman's words, though fragmented and delivered with a trembling voice, painted a path, a difficult path filled with uncertainty and danger, but a path nonetheless. A path towards understanding, towards restoring the balance, and towards reclaiming the shattered narrative of Woodmere. A path only Mara could tread. She was not merely a clockmaker's apprentice anymore. She was the new warden of time, the guardian of Windmere's story, the custodian of its very existence. The weight of this responsibility settled heavily on her young shoulders, but within the fear and uncertainty, a flicker of determination began to grow. The wind howled outside, the snow still falling, but within the small cottage, a spark of hope had ignited. The whispers from the past, once fragmented and fearsome, now held the promise of a solution, a path out of the temporal chaos, a way to restore the delicate balance and bring order back to the world. Mara, armed with the ancient lore, the weight of her responsibility, and the determination to succeed, prepared to face the unknown, ready to navigate the perilous currents of time and rewrite the narrative. The path ahead remained uncertain, shrouded in mystery, and the whispers of the world beyond time. But for the first time since unlocking the Master Clock's secrets, Mara felt a glimmer of hope, a fragile spark in the heart of the encroaching blizzard. The blizzard outside raged on, a furious symphony of wind and snow, but within Mrs. Willowbrook's cottage, a strange calm had settled. The old woman's words echoed in Mara's mind, painting a vivid picture of the world beyond comprehension. A realm where time itself was not a river, but a turbulent ocean. The master clock, she realized, wasn't just a clock. It was a key, a gateway to this extraordinary place. Following Mrs. Willowbrook's instructions, Mara examined the master clock more closely. The intricate carvings, once merely decorative, now seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. She traced the delicate lines of a specific symbol, a swirling spiral reminiscent of a galaxy. A symbol Mrs. Willowbrook had described as the sign of the temporal current. As her fingers brushed against the carving, a faint hum resonated from within the clock, growing in intensity until it vibrated through her very bones. Then, a strange phenomenon unfolded before her eyes. From the base of the master clock, a faint shimmering began to emanate, a subtle trail of iridescent particles drifting upwards like a celestial river. The particles shimmered with an otherworldly light, their colors shifting and swirling in a hypnotic display of emerald, sapphire, and amethyst. This shimmering trail led to a point in the air several feet above the clock, where it coalesced into a shimmering, oval-shaped portal. It pulsed with ethereal energy, its edges rippling like water, the colors shifting and swirling in a mesmerizing yet daunting spectacle. The air around the portal hummed with a power that both thrilled and terrified Mara. It was as if the very fabric of reality itself was bending and warping, creating a gateway to another dimension. Fear wrestled with determination in Mara's heart. She knew that entering this portal was a leap into the unknown, a step into the heart of the temporal storm. But the urgency of the situation, the desperate pleas of the disoriented villagers, propelled her forward. She remembered Mrs. Willowbrook's words, the wardens of time, the keepers of the world's story, the guardians of its delicate narrative flow. She was the new warden, and this portal, this gateway to a realm beyond time, was her only hope of restoring the balance. Taking a deep breath, bracing herself for whatever lay beyond, Mara stepped towards the shimmering portal. As she neared, the humming intensified, the colors of the portal swirling around her like a living kaleidoscope. The air thrummed with an almost unbearable energy, a chaotic symphony of whispers and murmurs that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of existence itself. There was a sense of displacement, a feeling that the familiar laws of physics were dissolving, bending to the whims of a reality beyond human comprehension. With a surge of courage born of desperation, Mora stepped through the shimmering portal. The world dissolved around her, replaced by a landscape that defied description. Gone were the familiar sights of Windmere, the snow-covered cottages, the gnarled trees, the relentless blizzard. In its place was a landscape that shifted and changed before her eyes, a kaleidoscope of impossible forms and breathtaking vistas. Mountains rose and fell like waves on a turbulent sea, their peaks piercing iridescent clouds that shifted from fiery orange to electric blue in the blink of an eye. Rivers of light flowed across valleys of swirling nebula, their currents pulsing with a vibrant ethereal energy. Strange, luminous flora sprouted from the ground, their blossoms glowing with an inner luminescence, their petals unfurling and reforming in a constant dance of creation and destruction. The air itself felt alive, buzzing with a potent energy that seemed to flow through Mara, invigorating yet overwhelming. The very ground beneath her feet felt unstable, shifting and reforming as she walked, the landscape constantly evolving, rewriting itself in a perpetual state of flux. This was a realm beyond linear time, a place where the past, present, and future existed simultaneously, interwoven and indistinguishable. She saw glimpses of scenes that defied chronological order, knights in shining armor, battling dragons in a medieval landscape, juxtaposed with futuristic cityscapes soaring among the clouds. She heard echoes of conversations from different eras, fragments of songs sung in forgotten languages, the whispers of laughter and sorrow, all blending together in a cacophony that both fascinated and disoriented her. The experience was overwhelming, a torrent of sensation and perception that pushed her to the very limits of her understanding. As Mora navigated this ever-changing landscape, she encountered beings unlike any she had ever imagined. These were not creatures of flesh and bone, but beings of pure temporal energy, their forms shifting and reforming, their essence as fluid and unpredictable as the landscape itself. Some resembled fleeting wisps of light, others were swirling vortexes of color, their forms echoing the ever-shifting landscape around them. They moved with a grace that defied the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing as if they were woven into the very fabric of this temporal realm. One such being, a swirling vortex of emerald and gold, approached Mara, its energy humming with an ancient power. It spoke in a voice that echoed not in her ears but in her mind, a voice that resonated with the ancient pulse of the universe itself. The being revealed itself as Kronos, a guardian of this temporal realm, a being of pure temporal energy, responsible for maintaining the delicate balance of time across all realities. Kronos explained that Mora's actions, though unintentional, had caused a ripple effect throughout the tapestry of time, threatening to unravel the very fabric of existence. The master clock, Kronos revealed, was far more than just a clock. It was an anchor, a point of connection between the mortal world and the temporal realm. It was the keystone that maintained the world's narrative, and its malfunction had threatened to unravel it. Kronos explained that the Wardens of Time were not merely mythical figures, but keepers of the world's story, guides of the narrative flow. They were not simply observers of time, but active participants in shaping its course. They held a unique ability to perceive and interact with the temporal currents, to mend the frayed edges of reality, to reweave the narrative when it became disrupted. Mara, by inheriting the master clock, had inherited this weighty responsibility. She was the new Warden of Time. Kronos then guided Mara through a series of trials designed to test her understanding of time and her ability to manipulate its currents. She learned to perceive the echoes of past events, to sense the whispers of the future, to navigate the chaotic currents of this temporal realm. She learned to perceive the subtle energy of moments, to understand the subtle shifts in the narrative, and to subtly guide it with her thoughts and actions. She was taught to wield her own temporal energy, to subtly redirect the flow of time, to heal rifts in the narrative, to weave back together the unraveling story of Windmere, and ultimately, the world. The training was arduous, demanding both mental and emotional fortitude. Mara faced illusions that challenged her perception of reality, tests that pushed her to the limits of her endurance. She wrestled with paradoxes that bent her mind, navigated through temporal storms that threatened to consume her, and faced her own inner demons reflected back at her in the shimmering chaos of the temporal realm. But with each challenge, she grew stronger, her understanding of time deepening, her abilities expanding. By the end of her trials, Mara was ready. Kronos, satisfied with her progress, bestowed upon her the ancient knowledge and tools necessary to restore the balance. Armed with this newfound understanding and power, Mara prepared to return to Windmere, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, ready to heal the rifts in the temporal fabric, and ready to reshape the story of Windmere and the world itself. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer a clockmaker's apprentice. She was the Warden of Time, the guardian of the world's narrative, and the keeper of its delicate equilibrium. The task was immense, the responsibility weighty, but Mara, armed with the wisdom and power of the temporal realm, walked back through the shimmering portal, ready to rewrite the world's story. The swirling vortex of emerald and gold solidified slightly, coalescing into a form vaguely humanoid, though its edges remained shimmering, indistinct. It was impossibly tall and impossibly thin, composed entirely of shifting light. The colors constantly changing and swirling like a nebula captured within a living cage. Its face, if you could call it that, was a constantly shifting pattern of light and shadow, impossible to truly perceive. Yet somehow Mara felt she was being observed, understood, judged. Kronos, the being, announced, its voice a resonant hum that vibrated within Mara's very bones. Not heard through her ears, but felt in the deepest recesses of her being. You have disturbed the currents, child of Windmere. You have dared to unravel the tapestry of time itself. The words weren't accusatory, more a statement of fact, a quiet observation of the storm Mara had unwittingly unleashed. Fear, sharp and cold, pierced Mara's newfound courage. This was no ordinary being. This was a force of nature, a power beyond human comprehension. Kronos continued, its voice shifting and evolving with each syllable, weaving its words like strands of temporal energy. The master clock. It is not merely a mechanism of intricate gears and springs, but an anchor, a point of connection between the mortal realm and the currents of time. It holds the very narrative of Windmere, the story of its people, its joys, its sorrows, its very essence, woven into its intricate mechanism. It holds a piece of the world's story, an intricate thread that keeps the fabric of existence from unraveling. Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. The master clock, her inheritance, held the fate of the world in its delicate mechanism. She had only ever viewed it as a marvel of clockmaking, an enchanted timepiece of extraordinary detail and complexity. But now she understood its true nature, the responsibility it carried, the weight of the world it bore on its intricate gears. Kronos gestured with a sweep of its ethereal hand, a wave of energy that rippled across the ever-shifting landscape. The world's story is a delicate tapestry, woven from the countless threads of moments, each one unique, each one essential. When these threads are disturbed, the tapestry frays, unravels, and threatens to collapse. You, child, have disturbed these threads, and in doing so, threatened to unravel the narrative itself. Mara bowed her head, understanding the gravity of her actions. She had played with forces beyond her comprehension, unlocking secrets she had been warned against. I didn't mean to, she whispered, her voice barely audible against the constant humming of the temporal realm. Kronos' response was not verbal, but a display of shifting light. Images flashed before Mara's eyes. Scenes of Windmere's past, its present, and its possible future. Futures that twisted and warped under the strain of time's disarray. She saw children wandering, lost and confused, their memories fractured, their identities obscured. She saw seasons colliding, winter blending into spring, then abruptly plunging into autumn, creating chaos in the natural cycle of Windmere. The images were overwhelming, a testament to the fragility of reality itself. The wardens of time, Kronos' voice resonated, are keepers of the narrative, not just observers. They are weavers, menders, guardians of the flow. They shape and guide the story, ensuring its continuity and coherence. You, Mara, are the chosen one, the new Warden of Time. You have inherited not only a clock, but a responsibility, a legacy of immense significance. The words were both daunting and strangely exhilarating. Mara felt a surge of power, a connection to the very fabric of existence, a profound understanding of the weight of her destiny. She was not just a clockmaker's apprentice anymore. She was the protector of time itself. Kronos then began to instruct her, its lessons delivered not in words alone, but in vivid demonstrations of temporal manipulation. Mara watched as Kronos effortlessly bent and shaped time, mending tears in the fabric of reality, redirecting the course of moments, guiding the flow of the narrative with effortless grace. It demonstrated how to perceive the subtle whispers of time, the faint echoes of past events, the nascent whispers of the future, weaving these echoes into a coherent tapestry of understanding. She learned to discern the subtle energy that permeated every moment, the delicate vibrations that shaped the world story, the threads of cause and effect that connected the past to the present, and the present to the future. Kronos showed her how to perceive these currents, how to navigate them, how to use her own nascent abilities to subtly shift and reshape the narrative. Mara's training was a relentless series of trials and tests. Kronos presented her with temporal paradoxes, forcing her to grapple with impossible scenarios, to find solutions that wouldn't unravel the fabric of reality. She faced illusions designed to challenge her perception of time, testing the boundaries of her comprehension. She navigated temporal storms, violent upheavals of reality that threatened to overwhelm and consume her. She faced illusions designed to challenge her perception of time, testing the boundaries of her comprehension. She navigated temporal storms, violent upheavals of reality that threatened to overwhelm and consume her. She was tested on her ability to mend the fractures in the narrative, to reconnect the broken threads of time, to restore the flow of the world story. One particularly challenging task involved restoring a shattered memory. Kronos showed Mara the fragmented recollections of a young boy, his identity lost in the temporal disruption. Mara had to piece together his memories, reweaving the fragments into a coherent whole, using her newly found abilities to restore the continuity of his personal narrative. This was not merely a mental exercise. It was a demonstration of the deep interconnection of individual lives within the larger fabric of the world story. Another test involved confronting an anomaly in the temporal flow, a localized distortion that threatened to spread and unravel the delicate balance of the world's narrative. Mara had to not only identify the anomaly's source, but subtly correct its disruptive effects without causing further damage to the temporal currents. It was a delicate dance requiring precision and an almost intuitive understanding of time's intricate mechanics. As Mara's training progressed, she developed a deeper appreciation for the interconnectedness of all things. She realized that the past, present, and future were not separate entities, but facets of a single continuous narrative. Every moment was essential, a building block in the ever-evolving story of existence. She also learned that while she could shape time, she must do so with care, respecting the natural flow of the narrative, ensuring that her intervention would not create unintended consequences. With each challenge, Mara grew stronger, her understanding of time deepening, her ability to manipulate its currents improving. The training was arduous, pushing her to her physical and mental limits, but the rewards were immense. She was evolving into something more than just a clockmaker. She was becoming a guardian of reality itself, and as she stood ready, finally, to face her task, she felt not fear, but a deep and profound sense of purpose. The journey ahead was immense, the responsibility weighty. But Mara, the new Warden of Time, was ready to begin. Part 2. The Warden's Journey. The shimmering landscape of the temporal realm shifted and reformed, the colors swirling like a cosmic kaleidoscope. Kronos, its form a breathtaking display of ever-changing light, gestured towards a vast expanse that stretched beyond Mara's comprehension. This, the being hummed, its voice a resonant chord vibrating within Mara's very core, is the Chronarium, a library, not of books, but of moments. Every event, every action, every thought ever experienced exists here, captured within the currents of time. Mara gazed upon the breathtaking vista. Before her lay an endless sea of shimmering energy, a tapestry woven from countless strands of light, each pulsating with a unique energy. She saw fleeting glimpses of moments, a child's laughter, a lover's embrace, a warrior's fall, all shimmering within the vast expanse. Each moment frozen yet dynamic, a jewel within the grand design of existence. The scale was overwhelming, humbling, and utterly magnificent. Each strand of light, Kronos explained, its voice a soothing balm to Mara's awestruck mind, represents a single moment. The intensity of its glow reflects the significance of the event. A small, insignificant occurrence might be a faint flicker, barely audible or barely discernible, while a pivotal moment in the world's story radiates with a brilliant, undeniable power. Kronos then pointed to a region where the light pulsed erratically, the strands tangled and frayed. Now these are the disruptions, it explained. The tears in the fabric of time caused by your actions. The unraveling of Winmir's story, echoing across the Chronarium. The tangled threads pulsed with a dissonant energy, a jarred contrast to the harmonious flow of the surrounding light. Kronos continued, its voice weaving a tapestry of knowledge. To mend these disruptions, you must learn to manipulate the flow of temporal energy. Observe, it said, extending an ethereal finger towards the damaged area. A stream of pure golden light flowed from Kronos' touch, smoothly weaving through the tangled threads, carefully disentangling them, and gently mending the rips in the fabric of time. The chaotic energy gradually calmed, the light stabilizing into a harmonious pulse, the damaged area seemingly blending back into the larger pattern. Mara watched, mesmerized, as the damaged area healed, the dissonant energy fading into a harmonious hum. It was an act of exquisite precision, a demonstration of power and grace beyond human comprehension. The sheer elegance of Kronos' intervention was breathtaking. The energy flows, Kronos explained, are like currents in a river. Understand their directions, their strengths, their interconnections, and you can guide them, shape them, mend them. But be warned, it added, its voice taking on a note of caution. Reckless intervention can create unforeseen consequences, even worse than the original disruption. Kronos then guided Mara, showing her how to perceive the subtle energies that permeated the Quinarium. Mara learned to see the intricate web of connections between moments and the delicate balance between cause and effect. She learned to feel the vibrations of the temporal currents, to sense to discern the subtle nuances that differentiated a harmonious flow from chaotic disruption. The training was rigorous, demanding, and intellectually stimulating. Kronos presented Mara with numerous scenarios, each more complex than the last. She learned to repair broken timelines, to restore lost memories, to resolve temporal paradoxes that threatened to unravel reality itself. She faced illusions designed to test her perception, challenging her to distinguish between genuine events and temporal distortions. One particularly challenging task involved a paradox created by a misplaced object, a simple, seemingly insignificant item. A lost button had been displaced in time, creating a cascade of unintended consequences that threatened to destabilize a significant historical event. Mara had to pinpoint the exact moment of displacement, carefully trace the ripple effects of the anomaly, and subtly shift the button's position in time to restore the correct flow of events. This involved a delicate manipulation of temporal energies, requiring both precision and a profound understanding of cause and effect. Another lesson involved navigating a temporal storm. This wasn't a literal storm, but a region of the Quinarium where the temporal events were extremely turbulent, the energy chaotic and unpredictable. Mara had to navigate this turbulent region, skillfully avoiding the chaotic currents while using her newly acquired abilities to carefully mend the rips and restore balances to the flow. It was a delicate dance on the edge of chaos, requiring an extraordinary level of concentration and skill. Kronos' instructions extended beyond more technical manipulation. Mara learned that manipulation of time was not simply a matter of technical skill, but also one of responsibility and ethical considerations. The power to alter the past and future was immense, and with great power came great responsibility. Kronos emphasized the importance of respecting the natural flow of time, understanding the delicate balance of cause and effect, and recognizing the potential for unintended consequences. Mara's training wasn't just about fixing broken moments. It was about understanding the profound interconnectedness of everything. Every decision, every action, every breath had a ripple effect that echoed throughout the Quinarium, shaping the world's story. She learned the importance of making mindful decisions, ensuring her intervention wouldn't create unforeseen chaos. The training was both arduous and intellectually fulfilling. Mara pushed herself to her limits, both mentally and emotionally, constantly striving to master the complexities of temporal mechanics. She discovered a depth of understanding she had never imagined, transforming her from a humble clockmaker's apprentice into a guardian of the very fabric of reality. As her training progressed, she felt an increasing sense of purpose, a growing confidence in her abilities. She was ready. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but Mara, the new warden of time, felt ready to embrace her destiny. The journey was far from over, but she stood prepared to face the future, whatever challenges it might bring. And the world's story was in her hands, a delicate tapestry waiting to be woven, mended, and protected. With Kronos' guidance echoing in her mind, Mara stepped back into the swirling chaos of the Crenarium. The fractured threads of Windmere's timeline pulsed before her. A tangled mess of shimmering light, each disrupted strand a testament to the unraveling of the village's story. The task before her was daunting, a delicate dance in the razor's edge of existence. It wasn't simply a matter of fixing broken pieces. It was about understanding the intricate tapestry of cause and effect, a delicate balance that kept the world's narrative from unraveling entirely. Her first task focused on the erratic shifting of seasons. She traced the thread of light representing the spring equinox, a moment that had been inexplicably displaced, causing winter to bleed into summer, and autumn to vanish almost entirely. The disrupted strand pulsed with a dissonant hum, a jarring note in the otherwise harmonious symphony of time. Mara, following Kronos' instructions, reached out with her hand, gently feeling the flow of temporal energy around the disrupted thread. It was like trying to entangle a guardian knot made of light, each strand connected to a myriad of others, each movement potentially causing unforeseen consequences. She began by carefully identifying the point of disruption, a moment where a seemingly insignificant event, a misplaced robin egg, had caused a ripple effect across the entire seasonal cycle. The egg, symbolizing the arrival of spring, had been inexplicably shifted to the midst of winter, throwing the whole balance off. With painstaking precision, Mara manipulated the temporal currents, carefully guiding the misplaced energy back to its rightful place. It was like conducting a symphony, each subtle shift in energy needing to resonate perfectly with the surrounding threads. As she worked, the dissonant hum of the disrupted strand began to fade, replaced by a harmonious pulse. The seasonal thread stabilized, weaving itself back into the larger narrative, restoring the natural rhythm of Windmere's seasons. Next, she tackled the children's forgotten names. This proved to be a more intricate challenge. The loss of identity wasn't a single event, but a series of subtly interconnected moments, spread across various days and individuals. Mara painstakingly traced each fragment of memory, each moment where a child's name had become obscured, a fleeting flicker in the Crenarium's vast expanse. It was like piecing together a shattered mirror, each fragment a memory, each shard needing to be carefully placed back in its rightful position. She discovered that the problem stemmed from a disrupted moment during a local festival, a moment where a playful prank had gone awry. The disruption had spread like a disease, slowly eroding the children's sense of self, their identities dissolving into the chaotic currents of time. Mara meticulously repaired each individual memory, gently guiding the threads of each child's identity back into coherence. It was an act of immense patience and precision, requiring a profound understanding of the human psyche and its intricate connection of time. As she worked, the children's forgotten names began to resurface, their identities restored, their sense of self returning. The independently moving shadows proved to be the most perplexing of all. These weren't mere visual anomalies. They were fragments of time itself, detached from the main narrative, existing in a state of temporal limbo. They represented moments of fear and uncertainty, emotions that had become detached from their origins, drifting through Windmere, casting long, unsettling shadows upon the village. Mara realized these shadows were not simply visual disturbances. They were echoes of unspoken anxieties, fears that had manifested themselves as independent entities. To restore the balance, she had to address the underlying emotional issues that were causing the disruptions. It meant diving deep into the hearts of the villagers, untangling their anxieties and fears, restoring their emotional equilibrium. This task required a delicate blend of temporal manipulation and emotional empathy. Mara had to find the source of each shadow, identify the underlying fear or uncertainty that had caused it to detach, and then gently guide it back to its origin. She spent countless hours in the crenarium, not just manipulating temporal threads, but also attending to the emotional currents that underlay them. It was like working on a broken clock, not simply fixing the gears, but also understanding the subtle rhythms that made it work. As she mended the damaged threads of Windmere's story, the village began to slowly heal. The seasons returned to their natural rhythm. The children remembered their names, and the shadows retreated to their rightful places. The chaotic energy that had plagued Windmere gradually subsided, replaced by a harmonious flow of time. The villagers, once adrift in a sea of confusion, began to regain their sense of stability and normalcy. Their lives, once disrupted, started to weave themselves back into the tapestry of time. The process was far from effortless. Mara encountered numerous unforeseen challenges, temporal paradoxes, and unforeseen consequences. One incident involved a misplaced letter, a seemingly minor event that had caused a series of unintended consequences across several decades. Another involved a broken promise, a small act of betrayal that had created a significant tear in the fabric of a family's history. Each incident required a careful and nuanced approach, an understanding of the profound interconnectedness of every action and its ripple effects across time. Mara's dedication and skill didn't go unnoticed by the villagers. As she worked, mending the fabric of their lives, they began to sense a shift, a change in the atmosphere. The eerie stillness that had settled over Windmere began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of hope and optimism. They watched, awestruck, as Mara navigated the intricate currents of time, her actions restoring normalcy to their world. They began to understand the true meaning of the master clock, the delicate balance it represented, and the profound responsibility that came with safeguarding the flow of time. The final step was the restoration of the master clock itself. The clock, the heart of Windmere's temporal stability, had become deeply entangled with the disrupted timeline. Its gears were frozen, its hands motionless, reflecting the state of chaos in the village. Mara realized that to fully restore order, she had to heal the clock, reestablish its connection to the harmonious flow of time. She spent hours working on the master clock, meticulously mending its intricate mechanism. Each gear a symbol of a moment in time, each spring a representation of a cause and effect. As she carefully repaired each component, the clock began to stir, its hands slowly resuming their movement, ticking steadily once more. The restoration of the master clock resonated throughout the crenarium, strengthening the repaired threads, solidifying the restoration of Windmere's narrative. With the Windmere clocks ticking steadily and the fractured timeline of Windmere restored, Mara felt a sense of accomplishment, a profound understanding of the intricate dance of time and the weighty responsibility that came with safeguarding its delicate balance. The journey had been arduous, filled with challenges and uncertainties, but she had persevered, transforming herself from a humble apprentice into a guardian of the world's story. The future remained uncertain, the currents of time forever unpredictable. But Mara, the ward of time, stood ready, her heart filled with purpose, her mind attuned to the whispers of past, present, and future. The world's narrative was safe, for now, in her capable hands. The restoration of Windmere's timeline wasn't a smooth, linear process. Even as the major disruptions faded, the erratic seasons settling into their natural rhythm, the children's names returning, the unsettling shadows retreating, smaller, more insidious anomalies continued to plague the village. These were not the grand, sweeping disruptions she had dealt with earlier. Instead, they were tiny, mischievous glitches in the fabric of time, each one a testament to the enduring complexity of temporal repair. One such glitch manifested as a series of mini time loops. A villager might find themselves repeatedly living a single moment, spilling tea on their best dress, tripping over a garden gnome, forgetting a crucial ingredient in their baking. These loops, though seemingly insignificant, were subtly unraveling the threads of their daily lives, creating a sense of disorientation and frustration. Mara discovered the cause, a mischievous sprite, no bigger than her thumb, with iridescent wings and a penchant for chaos. This sprite, she learned, was a denizen of the Cronarium, a creature born from the very fabric of time itself. Its existence depended on the unpredictable currents it inhabited. The sprite, whose name Mara eventually learned was Flicker, delighted in creating these temporal hiccups, seemingly for amusement. It flitted through the Cronarium, leaving trails of shimmering light in its wake, each trail a tiny distortion in the temporal flow. Mara's attempts to capture Flicker proved fruitless. The sprite was too quick, too agile, weaving through the temporal currents with an unnerving ease that made it nearly impossible to track. Its laughter, a tinkling chime, echoed through the Cronarium, mocking her efforts. The challenges extended beyond Flicker's antics. Mara was battling exhaustion. The intense concentration required to manipulate the temporal threads was draining, leaving her mentally and physically weary. Each successful repair was followed by a wave of fatigue, a stark reminder of the immense energy required to mend the fabric of time. There were moments she doubted her ability to continue, moments when the weight of responsibility threatened to overwhelm her. The weight of the entire world's narrative rested on her shoulders, a burden that sometimes felt too heavy to bear. Yet, amidst the exhaustion and frustration, Mara found unexpected help. A small community of temporal spirits, beings of pure temporal energy, began to appear in the Cronarium. They were ethereal entities, shimmering with light, their forms shifting and changing, their voices whispering like the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. These spirits, it seemed, were guardians of the Cronarium, protectors of the temporal flow, and they sensed Mara's struggle and her dedication. These spirits, who identified themselves as the Chronomasters, were not capable of directly manipulating time as Mara could, but they offered her invaluable guidance. They possessed a deep understanding of the temporal events, their collective knowledge encompassing millennia of history and experience. They provided her with insights into the patterns and rhythms of time, helping her to identify the underlying causes of the anomalies and developing strategies to repair them. They taught her subtle techniques for navigating the Cronarium, guiding her through intricate pathways and helping her to avoid temporal paradoxes. With the Chronomaster's assistance, Mara began to develop a new level of skill and efficiency in her temporal repairs. She learned to predict Flicker's movements, anticipating its mischievous interventions and counteracting them before they could disrupt the temporal flow. She developed a system of temporal anchors, points of stability in the cranarium, which helped her to ground herself and maintain her focus during particularly complex repairs. One particularly challenging incident involved a series of seemingly random events occurring across Windermere. A misplaced horseshoe causing a series of unfortunate accidents, a forgotten anniversary leading to a family quarrel, a misplaced button resulting in a lost game of croquet. Individually, these events seemed unrelated, but Mara, with the aid of the Chronomasters, discovered that they were connected through a subtle temporal distortion, a tiny ripple that emanated from a single point in the past. Tracing the ripple back to its source was like navigating a labyrinth, a path winding through the twists and turns of time. But with the Chronomaster's guidance, Mara followed the thread, uncovering the cause. A small act of unkindness, a forgotten gesture of malice that had sent ripples across time, creating a cascade of minor misfortunes. By addressing this initial act, by gently altering the emotional context of that single moment, Mara was able to restore balance to the temporal flow, undoing the series of unintended consequences. The journey was far from over. Each repair brought new challenges, new paradoxes, new temporal anomalies to address. The work was relentless, the pressure constant. But with the support of the Chronomasters and the growing strength of her own abilities, Mara persevered. She learned to trust her instincts, to embrace the unpredictable nature of time, and to accept that even a warden of time was bound to encounter setbacks and unexpected twists. She discovered that the true skill lay not just in mending the broken threads, but also in understanding the intricate dance of cause and effect, the delicate balance between past, present, and future. The challenges continued, but Mara, with the help of her newfound allies, was ready to meet them, ready to navigate the unpredictable currents of time, ready to protect the world's narrative, one carefully mended moment at a time. The mischievous flicker continued to test her patience, but even the sprite's chaotic interference only served to enhance Mara's understanding of the subtle rhythms and complexities of time itself. The quiet hum of the cranarium was once a comforting backdrop to Mara's work, now carried an undercurrent of unease. The temporal spirits, the Chronomasters, seemed agitated. Their ethereal forms flickered more erratically, their whispers tinged with fear she hadn't sensed before. Even Flicker, the mischievous sprite, seemed subdued, its usual playful chimes replaced by a nervous silence. Something was wrong. Something profoundly wrong. It began subtly, a growing sense of discord, a discordant note in the harmonious symphony of time. Small temporal anomalies, previously manageable, became more frequent, more severe. The repaired rifts in the fabric of time seemed to fray at the edges, threatening to unravel once more. Mara felt a tightening in her chest, a premonition of impending doom. This wasn't just the usual chaos. This felt deliberate. One evening, as Mara was attempting to mend a particular stubborn temporal rift, a recurring nightmare plaguing a young boy in Windermere, a shadow detached itself from the swirling currents of the cranarium. It wasn't a shadow in the literal sense. It was a void, an absence of light, a chilling emptiness that seemed to consume the very fabric of time around it. It pulsed with a dark energy, a chilling counterpoint to the radiant energy of the Chronomasters. The shadow extended a tendril of darkness, staking towards the master clock's representation within the cranarium. A miniature replica of the clock, pulsing with gentle light. Mara felt a surge of icy dread, a visceral understanding that this entity posed a far greater threat than any sprite or temporal anomaly she had encountered before. As the tendril neared the miniature master clock, the chronomasters reacted, their light intensifying, their whispers turning into a chorus of urgent warnings. But the shadowy entity seemed impervious to their energy, its darkness absorbing their light. Mara, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate need to protect the delicate balance of time, hurled herself forward, her own temporal energy surging to meet the encroaching darkness. The clash was violent, a silent battle waged between light and shadow, order and chaos. Mara felt a searing pain, a burning sensation as her temporal energy collided with the entity's dark power. She was forced back, her body trembling, her mind reeling. The shadow recoiled, momentarily stunned, but it was clear. This was an opponent far beyond her current capabilities. With the surge of its dark energy, the shadowy entity broke the miniature master clock. The replicas within the cranarium crumbled, their light extinguished, the representation of the world's stories dissolving into nothingness. The darkness grew, threatening to overwhelm the cranarium, threatening to consume the very fabric of time itself. Panic seized Mara. The weight of the world felt like an actual crushing weight. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, one of the chronomasters, its form flickering more violently than the others, projected a vision into Mara's mind. It showed a figure cloaked in shadows, a being of pure temporal darkness, its face hidden by a cowl, its eyes burning with malevolent energy. The vision revealed a history, a story of betrayal and ambition. The figure the chronomasters revealed was a former warden of time, a being once entrusted with protection of the temporal flow. Consumed by pride and a thirst for power, this warden had sought to control time itself, to bend it to its own will. Their attempt had failed, resulting in a catastrophic temporal disruption that nearly destroyed the world's narrative. Banished to the outer edges of the cranarium, this being had spent centuries plotting revenge, gathering dark energy, waiting for an opportunity to reclaim its power. Mara now understood the escalating chaos, the increasing frequency of temporal anomalies, the agitated chronomasters. All were deliberate acts, calculated moves designed to weaken the fabric of time, to create chaos, to make the world vulnerable. The disintegrating replica of the master clock was not just a symbolic loss, it was a strategic strike, weakening the connection between the cranarium and the real world, making it easier for the shadowy entity to infiltrate and seize control. The entity, driven by bitterness and ambition, intended to use the master clock not to maintain the balance of time, but to unravel it, to create a world of endless chaos and disorder. A world where time was not a river, but a raging torrent. A place where the past, present, and future collided in a horrific maelstrom. This former warden wanted to rewrite the story of the world according to its twisted desires. This was a battle, not just for the balance of time in Windmere, but for the very fate of reality itself. The task before Mara was daunting. The shadowy entity possessed immense power, its darkness corrupting and consuming the very essence of time. She was outmatched, outgunned, and running out of time. But Mara, even facing the greatest challenge of her life, found a spark of determination, a stubborn refusal to yield. The chronomasters, though, weakened, offering their guidance. They revealed ancient techniques, forgotten spells, hidden pathways within the cranarium. They spoke of temporal anchors, points of stability within the temporal currents, places where the shadowy entity's influence was weakest. Mara had to navigate these currents, find these anchors, and confront the fallen warden on their own ground. The battle would be perilous, the odds stacked against her. But Mara, the humble clockmaker's apprentice who had become the warden of time, would not surrender. She had protected Windmere. She had mended countless rifts in the fabric of time. and now she would stand against a force of pure temporal darkness, fighting not just for her village, but for the very preservation of the world story. This was the ultimate test, the moment that would define her destiny. The shadow of discord had fallen, and Mara was ready to meet it head on. The fate of time and the world itself hung precariously in the balance. The whispers of the past and the echoes of the future intertwined in her heart as she prepared for the fight. The weight of the world, once a burden, now felt like a driving force, fueled by a fierce determination to prevail. The Cordarium pulsed with a frantic energy, its ethereal glow flickering wildly as Mara braced herself. A shadowy entity, a swirling vortex of absolute negation, hung before her, its tendrils of darkness reaching out like grasping claws. It was a creature born of pure anti-time, a being that fed on the very essence of moments, twisting them into knots of chaos. The air crackled with raw temporal energy, a tangible tension that pressed down on Mara, threatening to consume her. Mara focused, drawing on the lessons Kronos, the being of pure temporal energy, had imparted. She had learned to sense the subtle currents of time, to manipulate the flow, to mend the rips in the fabric of reality. But this was different. This was a direct confrontation with the embodiment of temporal entropy, a battle for the very soul of time itself. The entity unleashed a wave of dark energy, a torrent of pure negation that washed over Mara. She felt her own temporal energy draining away, her connection to the Cordarium weakening. The world around her blurred, the familiar contours of the Cordarium dissolving into a swirling vortex of darkness. She fought to maintain her focus, to anchor herself to the present moment, but the entity's power was overwhelming. It was like trying to hold back a collapsing star with bare hands. Mara remembered Kronos' words. This is not a straight line, or time is not a straight line, but a river, flowing ever onward. But even a river can be directed, its current manipulated. With a desperate surge of will, she channeled her remaining temporal energy, focusing it into a concentrated beam of light. It was a counterpoint to the entity's darkness, a defiant assertion of order against chaos. The beam struck the entity, causing it to recoil, its dark form flickering violently. It was a small victory, a momentary respite in the relentless assault, but it was enough. The battle raged on, a dance of light and shadow, a clash of opposing forces that threatened to shatter the very fabric of the Cordarium. Mara weaved and dodged, using her mastery of time to create fleeting moments of advantage. She created temporal shields, deflecting the entity's attacks, and crafted temporary pockets of stability amidst the chaos. She even used small, precise adjustments to time to slow down the entity's movements, buying herself precious seconds. Every maneuver required immense concentration. Every moment, a delicate dance on the razor's edge of oblivion. The entity retaliated with increasing ferocity, its attacks growing more precise, more devastating. It tried to trap her in temporal loops, to force her into reliving moments of pain and fear. But Mara resisted, her resolve strengthened by the knowledge that the fate of Widmere, and perhaps the world, rested on her shoulders. The memory of the smiling faces of the villagers, the children's laughter, fueled her determination. She would not surrender. As the battle wore on, Mara began to understand the entity's strategy. It wasn't simply trying to destroy her. It was trying to drain her temporal energy, to absorb her connection to the Cordarium, to effectively steal her power. It was feeding on her strength, hoping to become even more powerful and erase her from existence. The realization sparked a new tactic in Mara's mind. She would not fight the entity directly. She would starve it. She would save her connection to the Cronarium, temporarily cutting off the entity's supply of temporal energy. It was a risky move, bordering on suicidal. Cutting herself off from the Cronarium would leave her vulnerable, exposed to the raw, unfiltered power of the temporal currents. But it was the only way. With a deep breath, Mara closed her eyes, focusing her intent. She severed her connection, the feeling like severing a lifeline, a painful detachment from the source of her power. The world around her became even more chaotic. The temporal currents swirling around her like a maelstrom. But the entity, momentarily surprised by her actions, faltered. Its attacks weakened, its dark form dimming slightly. Mara used this opening to strike. She focused her remaining energy not on attacking the entity directly, but on reinforcing the temporal anchors within the Cronarium, strengthening the points of stability. This, in effect, stemmed the entity's influence, limiting its ability to draw power from the Cronarium and reinforcing its weaknesses. The entity, realizing its strategy was thwarted, fought back with renewed fury. But it was weakened, its attacks now less potent. Mara, using all her skill and determination, fought back with a ferocity that she hadn't known she possessed. She weaved intricate patterns of temporal energy, creating defensive shields and counterattacks that pushed the entity back. The final confrontation was a whirlwind of raw temporal energy. Mara, exhausted but undeterred, channeled every ounce of her remaining strength, focusing her energy into one final devastating blow. She struck at the heart of the entity, severing its connection to the Cronarium and driving it back to the outer edges of the temporal realm. It screamed, a soundless shriek that echoed in the depths of Mara's soul, before collapsing into a wisp of fading darkness. Silence fell upon the Cronarium, a profound stillness that followed the storm. The ethereal glow of the Chronomasters returned, their forms steadier, their whispers now a chorus of relief and gratitude. The miniature master clock, though broken in the initial attack, began to reform, its light slowly returning. It was a gradual restoration, as if time itself were healing. Mara slumped against a pillar, drained but triumphant. The battle had been arduous, a fight for her very survival, but she had won. She had saved the Cronarium, restored the balance of time, and protected the very fabric of the world's story. The shadow of discord had been lifted, replaced by a fragile, hopeful dawn. The weight of her victory settled upon her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a testament to her courage and skill. She was the warden of time, and she had proven herself worthy. Part 3. The Warden of Time. The shimmering portal to the Cronarium winked shut, leaving Mara standing alone in the familiar, if slightly disheveled, workshop. The air, once thick with the oppressive weight of temporal chaos, now felt light and clear, cleansed of the entity's suffocating influence. A wave of exhaustion washed over her, leaving her trembling and weak, but a deep sense of satisfaction filled her heart. She had won. She had saved Windmere. Taking a shaky breath, Mara stepped out of the workshop and into the bright sunlight of Windmere. The transformation was immediate and breathtaking. The erratic shifts and seasons had vanished, replaced by the gentle, predictable rhythm of nature. The vibrant colors of nature had returned, painting the landscape in the tapestry of fresh greens and blossoms. Birdsong filled the air, a cheerful melody that had been absent during the temporal storms. Children, their faces bright with joyous recognition, called out greetings to her, their names tumbling from their lips with the effortless ease of habit restored. The village, once a canvas of temporal disarray, was now brimming with life and laughter. A testament to the delicate balance Mara had painstakingly restored. The air hummed with a renewed sense of normalcy, a palpable sense of relief washing over the entire village. Old Mr. Fitzwilliam, the village baker, whose memory had been flickering like a dying candle, rushed towards her, a warm loaf of bread clutched in his hands. "Mara, my dear girl," he explained, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "You've saved us! The seasons are back! The children remember their names! But my sourdough starter hasn't forgotten its own recipe," he chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound filled with gratitude. The entire village had gathered in the town square, their faces a mixture of relief and wonder. They surrounded her, their words of thanks mingling with the sounds of children's laughter and the joyful clanging of church bells, a spontaneous celebration erupting from the depths of their collective hearts. The villagers presented Mara with gifts, baskets overflowing with freshly picked fruit, intricately woven tapestries depicting scenes of Windmere's restored harmony, and hand-carved wooden clocks, symbols of their gratitude and their renewed faith in the cyclical nature of time. Alara, the young girl who had lost her way during the temporal disruptions, ran towards Mara, clutching a small worn doll. "Mara!" she cried, throwing her arms around Mara's legs. "I remember everything now, even the song my grandmother used to sing before she passed." The memory of the chaos that had threatened to erase these simple joys brought tears to Mara's eyes. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the village, a celebratory feast was held in the town square. Tables laden with food overflowed with delectable treats. The air was filled with the aroma of roasted meats, warm bread, and sweet pastries, the scents mingling with the cheerful chatter of the villagers. Musicians played lively tunes on their fiddles and flutes, their music adding to the festive atmosphere. The once haunted shadows danced playfully in the gathering dusk, their movements now predictable and reassuring. Even the mischievous sprites, who had been particularly active during the temporal unrest, seemed to have settled down, their playful antics less chaotic and more in line with the village's restored rhythm. Their usual nightly mischief was now more akin to a joyful, playful dance, harmonious with the village's newly rediscovered peace. The air hummed with a newfound sense of unity and camaraderie, a bond forged in the crucible of shared adversity and triumph. That night, under the starlit sky, Mara sat alone in her workshop, surrounded by her enchanted clocks. The master clock, meticulously repaired, pulsed with a gentle, steady rhythm, its ethereal glow a comforting beacon in the quiet stillness of the night. The intricate gears turned smoothly, each click and whir a testament to the delicate balance she had restored. She felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction that permeated her being. Looking at the village twinkling in the distance, illuminated by 1,000 tiny lights, Mara realized the depths of her responsibility. She was not merely a clockmaker. She was the guardian of Windmere's very essence, the protector of its narrative, the warden of time. The weight of this responsibility was immense, but she was no longer afraid. She had faced the embodiment of temporal chaos and emerged victorious, her courage tempered in the fires of adversity. She had discovered a strength she never knew she possessed, a resilience born from the very fabric of time itself. The following days were filled with the task of restoring Windmere's intricate temporal threads. She spent hours carefully adjusting the smaller clocks, each tick and talk representing a subtle shift in the village's narrative. She mended the tiny fractures in the temporal flow, ensuring that the past, present, and future flowed smoothly, without the jarring disruptions that had plagued Windmere. She repaired the broken sundials, ensuring ensuring that shadows fell in their proper place. She recalibrated the water clocks, ensuring that the flows of water mirrored the flows of time. The restoration was a painstaking process, requiring immense skill and patience, but Mara worked tirelessly, her movements guided by an almost intuitive understanding of time's delicate dance. She had become attuned to its subtle whispers, its gentle currents, and the intricate patterns that wove through the lives of the villagers. She listened to the quiet murmur of history within the old cobblestone streets, the whispered secrets held within the rustling leaves of the ancient oak trees, and the stories embedded within the ticking of her own ancient clocks. As the weeks turned into months, Windmere flourished. The village, once teetering on the brink of temporal disintegration, was now a beacon of stability and prosperity. The children, their memories restored, thrived in gentle rhythm of daily life, their laughter echoing throughout the streets. The adults, their anxieties eased, worked diligently, creating a vibrant and harmonious community. Even the weather seemed to cooperate, bringing forth bountiful harvest and a gentle, nurturing climate. Mara, now a revered figure in the community, continued her work as the Warden of Time, her shop a sanctuary for both the curious and those seeking guidance in their own temporal journeys. She taught the younger generation the art of clockmaking, instilling in them a deep respect for the delicate balance of time and the importance of preserving the narrative of Windmere and the world itself. Her life was a testament to the power of courage, determination, and the unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of the world. The Master Clock, a constant reminder of her arduous journey, pulsed steadily in her workshop, a silent guardian of Windmere's temporal harmony, a beacon of hope in the ever-flowing river of time. The story of Mara, the unlikely Warden of Time, became a legend whispered through generations, a testament to the power of one person to mend the very fabric of reality. The scent of polished wood and oiled gears filled Mara's workshop, a comforting aroma that now carried a new weight, a resonance of temporal energy. The master clock, its face a swirling galaxy of stars, hummed quietly, a steady heartbeat in the otherwise silent room. It wasn't just a clock anymore. It was an extension of Mara herself, a conduit to the currents of time. The smaller clocks, each a miniature universe of intricate workings, seemed to hum in harmony with the master clock, their delicate chimes resonating with a deeper, more profound meaning. She ran a hand over the smooth, cool surface of a newly finished clock, a piece designed to regulate the blooming of the village's famous moon petal flowers. The design, a delicate spiral of silver and amethyst, was inspired by a fleeting vision she'd had, a glimpse into the future where a particularly harsh winter threatened the delicate blooms. The clock, imbued with her understanding of the temporal currents, would gently nudge the seasons, ensuring the moon petal's survival. As she worked, she felt the subtle shift in the temporal energies around her, a faint whisper in the air, a delicate dance of past, present, and future swirling around her. It was a language she was only beginning to understand, a language written in the ticking of clocks and the rustling of leaves. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, Mara sat by the master clock, lost in thought. The rhythmic ticking seemed to lull her into a state of heightened awareness, her mind drifting through the currents of time. She saw glimpses of Windmere's past, the joyous celebrations, the quiet moments of everyday life, the hushed secrets whispered in the shadows. Then she saw flickers of the future, the challenges that lay ahead, the triumphs yet to be won, the subtle shifts in the town's narrative. It was an overwhelming experience, a flood of information that she struggled to process, yet somehow she felt a profound sense of connection to it all. The clocks, she realized, were not merely tools. They were storytellers. Each tick and talk was a word in a grand narrative. Each gear a sentence. Each chime a chapter. The master clock, the central narrative device, held the delicate balance of the whole story, ensuring that the past, present, and future flowed together harmoniously. Her role as the Warden of Time wasn't just about fixing temporal anomalies. It was about ensuring the integrity of Windmere's story, protecting it from distortion, preserving its essence. The shop itself had undergone a transformation. It no longer felt like a simple clockmaker's workshop. It had become a sanctuary, a nexus of temporal energy, a place where the past, present, and future intertwined. The air hummed with a subtle energy, a gentle current that flowed through the intricate mechanisms of the clocks, resonating with the very fabric of time itself. The tools, the hammers, the chisels, the files, seemed to vibrate with a latent power, their mundane forms elevated by their connection to the temporal currents. Even the dust motes in the sunbeams seemed to dance to a rhythm only Mara could perceive, a delicate ballet orchestrated by the whispering hands of time. One day, a traveler arrived in Windmere, a wizened old woman with eyes that held the wisdom of ages. She introduced herself as Alara, a chrono maestro, a keeper of temporal lore. Alara sought Mara's help. A temporal rift had appeared in a distant land, threatening to unravel the fabric of reality in that region. The rift was small, but its potential for destruction was immense, capable of causing irreparable damage to the region's temporal flow. Alara explained that the Word of Time wasn't solely responsible for Windmere's time. There was a wider network, a delicate tapestry of temporal guardians across the world. Mara, as the newest warden, was now part of that network, connected to other guardians through subtle temporal echoes. She could sense their presence, faint whispers across the vast distances, a silent communion of those tasked with preserving the world's narrative. Mara, though initially apprehensive, accepted the task. She spent weeks preparing, crafting a new clock, a powerful artifact designed to mend the rift. This clock, unlike her others, wasn't designed for a specific purpose. It was a tool for general temporal repair, its mechanism capable of adapting to the specific nature of the rift. The creation process was arduous, demanding all her skill and intuition. She poured her very being into the clock, infusing it with her own temporal energy, her connection to the master clock, acting as a conduit. The journey to the rift was perilous, a traversal through distorted landscapes where time flowed erratically. But Mara, guided by her innate connection to time, navigated the treacherous terrain, her every step calculated to avoid paradoxes and temporal anomalies. She arrived at the rift, a shimmering terror in reality, and carefully positioned the clock. The clock hummed, its intricate gears spinning rapidly as it began to mend the tear. weaving the broken threads of time back together. The process was slow, painstaking, but with each passing moment, the rift diminished, its destructive potential fading. Upon her return to Windmere, Mara felt a profound shift within herself. She had not just mended a rift, she had deepened her understanding of her role as the Warden of Time. She was no longer just the protector of Windmere. She was a vital part of a global temporal network, a guardian of the world's narrative, responsible for maintaining the delicate balance of moments across vast distances and epochs. The weight of her responsibility was immense, but it was a weight she bore with grace and determination, her heart filled with a quiet confidence born of experience and connection to the very fabric of time. The years that followed were filled with both challenges and triumphs. Mara continued to craft her enchanted clocks, each one a testament to her growing mastery over the subtle currents of time. She mentored younger clockmakers, sharing her knowledge and wisdom, ensuring that the art of temporal craftsmanship would continue to flourish. Windmere prospered under her watchful eye, its story unfolding in a harmonious rhythm, each moment a carefully woven thread in the grand tapestry of time. Mara, the Warden of Time, became a legend, her name whispered with reverence across the land, a testament to the power of one individual to safeguard the delicate balance of the world's narrative. The master clock continued its steady pulse, a silent guardian watching over Windmere, a testament to the enduring power of time and the unwavering spirit of its protector. Her story, a tale woven into the very fabric of time itself, would be told for generations to come. The rhythmic tick-tock of the master clock became the soundtrack of Mara's life, a constant reminder of her responsibility. It wasn't a burden, not exactly. It was more like a delicate dance, a constant negotiation with the ever-shifting currents of time. She found herself waking in the dead of night, drawn to the hum of the master clock, a subtle tremor in the air guiding her. Sometimes she would simply sit and listen, feeling the vibrations resonate through her very bones, a connection to the vast, unknowable tapestry of moments. Other times, a sense of unease would prickle at her skin, a premonition of a temporal ripple, a subtle disturbance in the normally smooth flow. These disturbances were subtle, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye. A flower blooming a day early, a misplaced memory, a shadow lingering just a little bit too long. These were the signs Mara learned to recognize. They were like ripples in a pond, barely disturbing the surface, yet capable of creating a cascade of unforeseen consequences if left unchecked. Her intervention was often subtle, a gentle nudge here, a carefully placed countercurrent there. She might adjust the position of a sundial, slightly altering the angle of the sunlight to prevent a crucial moment from being overshadowed. Or she might subtly influence a conversation, a word here, a gesture there, guiding events towards a more harmonious outcome. One crisp autumn morning, she noticed a faint tremor in the energy surrounding the village bakery. Old Mrs. Gable, the baker, had always been known for her legendary pumpkin pies, a tradition passed down through generations. But this year, something felt off. Mara felt a faint dissonance in the temporal flow, a slight discord in the rhythm of time. She peered into the future, a fleeting glimpse showing Mrs. Gable struggling, her hands trembling, unable to recreate the perfect recipe. The very essence of the pumpkin pie, a beloved tradition in Windmere, was at risk. Mara knew she had to act, she couldn't simply fix the problem directly. That would risk creating a paradox. Instead, she subtly influenced events, guiding Mrs. Gable's granddaughter, a young apprentice baker named Lily, towards her grandmother. Mara orchestrated a series of seemingly insignificant events: a misplaced recipe book, a chance encounter in the village square, a whispered suggestion of a family recipe. Lily, unknowingly guided by Mara's subtle temporal manipulation, rediscovered the secret ingredient, a forgotten spice that had been used for generations. The scent of perfectly baked pumpkin pies once again filled the bakery, a comforting aroma that resonated with the restored balance of time. It was a small victory, a tiny stitch in the vast tapestry of Windmere's narrative, but it was a victory nonetheless. Mara understood that her role wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic interventions. It was about the quiet, unassuming work of preserving the delicate balance of moments, ensuring the harmonious flow of Windmere's story. Another time, a seemingly innocuous incident involving a lost child threatened to unravel a significant historical event. A young boy named Thomas wandered away from a historical reenactment, inadvertently disrupting the timing of a critical scene. The reenactment, while seemingly trivial, was a crucial part of Windmere's collective memory, a keystone in its historical narrative. If the scene was disrupted, a subtle fracture in the temporal flow could occur, potentially leading to a larger problem. Mara, sensing the impending disturbance, used one of her smaller, more delicate clocks, a chronometer designed for minor temporal adjustments, to subtly guide Thomas back to the reenactment. She didn't teleport him. That would have been too disruptive. Instead, she manipulated a series of events: a curious butterfly, a flash of sunlight, a friendly dog, to gently lure the boy back to where he belonged. He returned just in time, the scene proceeding without a hitch, the temporal fabric remaining intact. Mara's ongoing watch wasn't confined to Windmere. She was connected to the wider network of temporal guardians, feeling their presence as faint echoes across vast disturbances. Sometimes, a surge of energy from a faraway land would jolt her, a sign of a significant temporal event elsewhere. These events, though distant, could have ripple effects on Windmere's time, highlighting the interconnectedness of all things temporal. One such event involved a powerful storm brewing in a distant kingdom. The storm wasn't simply a meteorological phenomenon. Mara sensed it was a manifestation of a deep temporal anomaly, a crack in the fabric of time, threatening to unravel the kingdom's history. The storm wasn't just wind and rain. It was a chaos of misplaced moments, distorted memories, and fractured timelines. She felt the tremor, a faint pulse in the master clock echoing the turmoil across the vast distance. Mara knew she had to act, even though she couldn't physically intervene directly. She consulted Alara, the chronomaestro, discussing strategies to counter the storm's influence. Alara, possessing vast knowledge of temporal energies, suggested a ritual, a carefully crafted sequence of actions designed to stabilize the temporal anomaly from afar. Mara, using her enchanted clocks, performed a series of intricate adjustments, subtly influencing the temporal currents, guiding the storm away from the kingdom, lessening its chaotic effect, and preventing further damage to the timeline. The storm subsided, leaving behind only a faint tremor in the temporal field. Mara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had prevented a potentially catastrophic event, not through brute force, but through a delicate manipulation of the temporal currents, a testament to her growing mastery over time itself. The ongoing watch was more than just a duty. It was a constant learning process, a never-ending dance with the enigmatic currents of time. It was a testament to her unwavering commitment to protecting the delicate balance of moments, ensuring that the world's narrative unfolded in its proper, harmonious rhythm. Her work was never done. The clocks ticked on, a continuous pulse in the heart of Windmere. And Mara, the Warden of Time, remained vigilant, ever watchful, as silent guardian of the world's intricate story. The hum of the master clock, a constant companion, whispered tales of the past, the present, and the future, reminding her of the unending responsibility and the quiet beauty of her existence as keeper of the world's unfolding narrative. The quiet hum of the master clock, once a source of anxiety, now filled Mara with a sense of calm purpose. The erratic shifts in Windmere's time had ceased. The seasons returned to their predictable rhythm, and the children remembered their names. Life had returned to its familiar, comforting pattern, yet something had irrevocably changed. Mara was no longer just a clockmaker. She was the Warden of Time, a guardian of the world's narrative, a silent protector of the delicate balance of moments. This new reality brought not only responsibility, but also a thrilling sense of possibility. The restored balance in Windmere didn't signal an end to her adventures. Instead, it opened a gateway to a wider, more wondrous world of temporal energies and unseen realms. Strange occurrences, once dismissed as mere coincidence, now held a deeper significance, whispers from the vast tapestry of time itself. One evening, while meticulously cleaning a particularly intricate automaton clock, a miniature representation of a celestial dance, Mara felt a surge of energy, a ripple in the temporal field unlike anything she had experienced before. It wasn't the subtle tremor of a misplaced memory or the faint dissonance of disrupted event. This was a powerful wave, a forceful intrusion from another dimension, a wave that resonated with an almost palpable excitement. Intrigued and slightly apprehensive, Mara examined the master clock. Its intricate gears whirred with an unusual intensity, the pendulum swinging with a vibrant energy. The clock's face, usually a calm and steady display of time, shimmered with an ethereal glow, revealing a hidden inscription in an unfamiliar language, etched in starlight. As she traced the symbols with her fingertip, a vision flashed before her eyes. A swirling vortex of colors, a glimpse of a shimmering city suspended between moments, a place where time flowed in unpredictable currents, a realm seemingly beyond the confines of her understanding. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, leaving Mara breathless and filled with a sense of wonder and apprehension. This was no mere disturbance. It was an invitation, a summons from a realm beyond the familiar boundaries of Windmere. The city in the vision, she felt it intuitively, held both incredible opportunities and profound dangers. A place where the very fabric of time could be manipulated. A place where the smallest alteration could cause cataclysmic repercussions. Word of Mara's newfound abilities, of her mastery over the temporal currents, began to spread beyond the borders of Windmere. Rumors whispered in the wind, carried by traveling merchants and wandering scholars, spoke of a young woman in a quaint village who could manipulate time itself. These whispers reached distant lands, attracting the attention of those who sought to understand, and those who sought to exploit the power she had now possessed. One day, a messenger arrived, bearing an ornate invitation crafted from shimmering moonstone. The invitation, sealed with the sigil of twisting temporal currents, beckoned Mara to the court of Ethelred, the Sun King of Erelon, a kingdom renowned for its mastery of arcane arts and its intricate understanding of the flow of time. Ethelred, it seemed, had heard of Mara's prowess and sought her aid in solving a temporal anomaly, threatening the very existence of his kingdom. A paradox that threatened to unravel the kingdom's history, leaving behind a void where the vibrant tapestry of Erelon's past once existed. The journey to Erelon was long and fraught with peril. Mara traveled through enchanted forests, navigated treacherous mountain passes, and crossed shimmering rivers that flowed in reverse. Along the way, she encountered strange creatures, sprites who danced with the shadows, mischievous gremlins who manipulated the flow of time, and wise old spirits who guarded ancient secrets. Each encounter served as a reminder of the intricate and often unpredictable nature of time's currents and the constant, subtle adjustments required to maintain its delicate balance. Upon arriving at Erelon, Mara found herself in a breathtaking kingdom of sun-drenched fields, towering spires, and shimmering waterfalls. But beneath the veneer idyllic beauty, a palpable unease pervaded the court. The Sun King, a regal figure radiating warmth and wisdom, explained the nature of the temporal paradox. A seemingly insignificant event from the kingdom's distant past had been altered, creating a ripple effect that threatened to unravel the very fabric of Erelon's history. The kingdom's past was fading, memories dissolving into nothingness, historical records becoming incoherent scribbles. The very essence of Erelon was at risk of disappearing, of being erased from existence. Mara, using her knowledge of temporal mechanics and the delicate instruments she had crafted, spent days studying the anomaly. She examined ancient texts, consulted with royal astrologers, and consulted with the most powerful mages of the land. Finally, she discovered the root of the paradox. A forgotten prophecy, misinterpreted centuries ago, had led to a critical alteration in the kingdom's timeline. This prophecy's misinterpretation had caused a chain reaction of events, pushing the kingdom towards oblivion. Correcting the anomaly wouldn't be a simple matter of reversing an event. It required a delicate manipulation of the temporal currents, a carefully orchestrated sequence of actions designed to restore the historical balance and to ensure that Erelon's narrative would continue its natural course. Mara, with the aid of Erelon's skilled mages, initiated a series of temporal adjustments, weaving a new thread into the fabric of time, gently guiding the kingdom's history back onto its destined path. The process was arduous and fraught with peril. One wrong move could have created a devastating paradox, further destabilizing Erelon's timeline. Mara, however, remained calm and focused, her hands moving with precision as she manipulated the temporal currents, carefully guiding the kingdom's history back towards its natural flow, preventing further damage and restoring a semblance of order. After weeks of careful work, the paradox was resolved. Memories began to return. The past re-emerged, and the kingdom of Erelon was saved from oblivion. Mara returned to Windmere, her reputation as the Ward of Time now firmly established across the realms, yet her work was far from over. The whispers from the temporal currents continued, hinting at new adventures, new challenges, and new threats to the delicate balance of time. The hum of the master clock, a constant reminder of her responsibility, remained her companion, a guide through the unpredictable currents of time, whispering tales of the endless journey that lay ahead. Her adventures, it seemed, were only just beginning, as the endless dance with time continued. The future held many untold stories, waiting to be discovered and preserved by the vigilant watch of the Ward of Time. The clocks ticked on, their gears whirring with the promise of new adventures, new challenges, and the endless, beautiful mystery of time itself. And Mara, the ever-vigilant guardian, was ready. The years that followed saw Windmere transformed. No longer a quiet village tucked away from the world, it became a village of pilgrimage, a destination for travelers seeking not just the charming atmosphere, but also the legendary Clockmaker's shop. Mara, once a humble apprentice, was now revered as the Ward of Time, her name echoing through the realms. Her shop, once a simple workshop, expanded, overflowing with intricate clocks, each a testament to her skill and subtle manifestation of her unique mastery over time. These were no ordinary clocks. They hummed with faint temporal energies, whispering secrets of the past, the present, and the future to those who knew how to listen. The clocks themselves became artifacts, each imbued with a piece of Windmere's history, each a tiny window into the intricate dance of time. There was the Whisperwind clock, its chimes echoing the forgotten songs of Windmere's founders, the Sunstone clock, its face reflecting the warmth of countless sunrises, and the Starfall clock, its intricate gears replicating the celestial ballet above the village. Each tick, each talk held a fragment of Windmere's story, a tangible link to the magical heritage that Mara had preserved. Visitors came from far and wide, drawn by the allure of these enchanted timepieces, seeking not just to purchase a clock, but also to experience a piece of the legendary warden's legacy. Mara's life became a blend of clockmaking, temporal guardianship, and the gentle rhythm of village life. She continued to train apprentices, passing down the secrets of Elias Grinwall and the intricate art of temporal mechanics. Her students, inspired by her courage and skill, became guardians of their own time, each spreading their knowledge and protection to other villages and regions. The knowledge of manipulating time became, under Mara's careful guidance, a form of preserving history and fostering community. It was no longer a source of fear, but a tool for growth and understanding. Stories of Mara's adventures spread like wildfire, woven into the fabric of Windmere's legends. Children were told tales of her journey to Erelon, of her encounter with the mischievous gremlins, and her triumph over the temporal paradox. These stories weren't merely entertaining, they taught valuable lessons about responsibility, courage, and the delicate balance of the world. They celebrated the importance of preserving the past, cherishing the present, and embracing the future. They highlighted the enduring power of knowledge and the vital power of safeguarding the delicate fabric of time. The legacy of Elias Grimwell lived on, not just in the ticking of his clocks, but in the spirit of innovation, creativity, and devotion to craft. Mara, as his successor, carried his torch, illuminating the path for future generations of clockmakers and temporal guardians. Her own unique style, a harmonious blend of precision and whimsicality, became a hallmark of Windmere's clockmaking tradition, further solidifying its reputation as a place of wonder and enchantment. The clocks she created were not simply timekeeping devices. They were works of art, each reflecting a unique moment in time, capturing a fragment of a story, a memory, or a dream. Generations of clockmakers followed in Mara's footsteps, each adding their unique touch to the rich tapestry of Windmere's temporal tradition. The village itself became a living museum of time, its streets paved with memories and its buildings echoing with the whispers of history. The annual Windmere Time Festival became a celebration of Mara's visitors, of Mara's legacy, and a testament to the town's unique relationship with time itself. During the festival, visitors could witness the intricate craftsmanship of the clockmakers, participate in temporal storytelling workshops, and even learn basic skills in timekeeping and the preservation of history. One particular apprentice, Alara, stands out in the annals of Windmere's history. A young woman with Mara's inquisitive spirit and Elias Grimwell's meticulous eye for detail, Alara pushed the boundaries of clockmaking and temporal manipulation even further. She developed a revolutionary new type of clock, the chronarium, which could not only accurately measure time, but also record and replay specific moments from the past. A breathtaking feat that further cemented Windmere's reputation as the center of temporal innovation. The chronarium became a crucial tool for historians, allowing them to relive key moments in Windmere's history and preserving its cultural heritage for generations to come. Mara, in her twilight years, watched with pride as Windmere flourished, its unique temporal heritage becoming a source of strength and inspiration for the wider world. She had become more than just the word of time. She had become a symbol of hope, a beacon of courage, and a reminder of the enduring power of a single individual to make a difference in the world. Her legacy went far beyond the confines of Windmere, inspiring countless individuals across the realms to pursue their dreams, embrace their unique talents, and uphold the delicate balance of time itself. Even after her passing, the hum of the master clock continued, its rhythmic pulse a reminder of Mara's tireless efforts, a testament to her unwavering dedication, and a legacy that continued to inspire. The stories of the Warden of Time were woven into the very fabric of Windmere, carried forward in the heartbeats of its people, in the gentle ticking of its clocks, and in the whispers of the wind that carried tales of magic and courage to the far corners of the world. Her legacy lived on, not only in the tangible artifacts she left behind, but also in the countless lives she touched and the enduring power of her example. The master clock, once a source of anxiety and uncertainty, now stood as a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of the Warden of Time, and a beacon of inspiration for future generations. The tale of Mara, the clockmaker who became a guardian of time, was a timeless story, passed down through generations, inspiring wonder and reminding all who heard it of the enduring power of courage, perseverance, and the delicate balance of time itself. The end. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, appreciate you hanging out with me on this Storytime Friday episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, anybody who might be interested in not only earning Bitcoin, but being able to stack it passively without referring anybody, go to passivebitcoin247.com. Aside from that, apologies if this one actually got posted a little bit later. Technically got posted Saturday morning. Kind of didn't get it fully recorded before having to go to work Friday night, but already got plans for next week as far as try to keep things on track, keep things posting on time and stuff. So anyway, you know what I always say, guys, keep pushing forward, keep believing, believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there, and then you just have to go out there and do it. So, on that note, you guys have a great weekend and a great start of your week. And as always, I will see you guys again on Tuesday for the next Real Talk Tuesday. On that note, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you then.